So what are we talking about? Design. So we are talking about design as a bridge between art and technology. So one of the first things that design helps us to do is it solves the problem of, it helps us solve with creativity. It solves problems with creativity. It's design, it helps us tackle practical challenges while incorporating creativity. So we have, just because of how humans are, even with all the potential issues we could have, everything that we try to solve, if it doesn't fit a certain aesthetic appeal, we have a little bit of pushback towards it. So that's what I mean in some of the bullet points here where I talk about solving with creativity and aesthetic functionality. So with design, you could have the best type of technology, but if it doesn't fit the certain level of aesthetic appeal that we have, that we as humans have, it has a very high possibility of not becoming mainstream, no matter how efficient the technology or how life-changing the technology could be. Next, we talk about just user-friendly experiences. Well, so that is talking about when we say design, it translates complex technology into accessible, intuitive experiences. So you could have the just something as basic as your phones. Phones are a marvel of modern technology. Smartphones as a whole, no matter how low end the smartphone might be, it could be the most basic of smartphones. They are more complex than just anyone realizes. But with use by merging design and technology together, by merging art and technology together to create a smartphone, we are able to compress all of these complex possibilities into such a simple device. So if without design, without art, a smartphone could still be used and it could still be a very giant and very bland piece of technology that while it will still be very useful to everybody, it will not be as, let's say, widespread as it is now. Because once upon a time, before the era of smartphones, we still had devices that were revolutionary of their time, but just because of how unwieldy they were, or how, let's say, they lacked the user-friendly part of it, they were unable to go mainstream. The impact of design on user experience. So one of the most very basic things is how design just makes technology easier and enjoyable to use. That's one of the core tenets of design. So you could have, like I've mentioned earlier, you could have the most groundbreaking piece of technology, but if it is not enjoyable to use, if it doesn't have that ease of use, it will have a certain level of pushback. So with design, using our knowledge of user interfaces and user experience, we are able to make such complex pieces of design, you're able to complex pieces of technology, you're able to bring them down to the most enjoyable points that you have. Something that is very not plain, but very easy to use, very intuitive, something that the average person can look at, and just by looking at some certain prompts on the screen, they can understand exactly how to use that piece of technology. Because with something like Google, for instance, you could, for us that use Google, the average person that uses Google, all you know is You go to the URL and you put in your search item, and then you get your answers. But behind the scenes, there's so much that is happening that ideally, if they did not use design and user experience, the knowledge of user experience, to make that particular user interface of the Google home screen, it is possible that by when you want to search for something on Google and you put in your request, you could see the entire process behind the scenes of what's going on in Google. It is not something that is impossible. It's not something um, that wouldn't, as I'll put it, make sense. But because everyone knows that nobody wants to see all that, nobody wants to go through that experience, that is why we use design, that is why we use art to make that particular process easy for us and enjoyable for us. And also, we use art in its own way to establish a deep emotional bond between the user and their projects. From things like you being able to look at your laptop and just because you enjoy the way it looks, because as we are all humans, we are programmed to look for beauty in everything. So we always just looking at your laptop or looking at your phone, whether you enjoy the color, whether you enjoy the size, you enjoy the shape, things like that. It shows a lot on how your just the arts that has gone into creating that piece of technology is able to tap into the certain part of your brain that develops emotional bonds. And instead of developing it with another person, you're developing it with your piece of technology, the product of choice. So we want to talk about driving innovation with design. Um, how do designers push the limits of technology? There are different ways to think about this, to think this through. I think one of the most basic would be, once again, I would like to use something that we all use, the smartphones. So at the beginning, smartphones were bulky, like the more complex they were, the bulkier they were. And they were bulky, they were big, they were unwieldy. But suddenly, one day, people decided to create thinner smartphones, to create slimmer, taller smartphones, things that are easier to read. Um, there is a very popular story of how when the iPod was first created, Steve Jobs asked them to make it thinner because it felt that it was too big. And to prove his point, he dropped it into a tank or into an aquarium. And when there were bubbles to come out, he showed that there was still like oxygen spaces inside, and so that they to make it as thin as possible. That is what we mean by challenging boundaries. Things that people have not realized, that have not believed. By you could have the technology, but it is things like arts, concepts of things like sculpting that make you feel like, okay, yes, I can rearrange this in another way. I can put this in another way to make it even look better. That's why we talk about challenging boundaries. And also we talk about fresh perspectives. So art and design encourage innovative approaches to problem solving. It is one of the innovation processes as we look at as designers is to go through this cycle: opportunity, concept, you validate your concept, you develop it and you deploy it, and then get feedback and you move back into opportunity. So at all of these stages, one of the major things that you'll be looking at is exactly the look of your project, the design of your products. That is what I mean when I talk about looking into fresh perspectives. So how is design going to shape the future? How is art going to shape the future? The current relationship between art and technology will continue to evolve. We see it's every day, every year, there is always something new in technology coming out that looks just that much more good, that looks just that much more innovative, that looks just that much more interesting. And that is a trend that will keep on going as long as human civilization exists. And also human-centered innovation. As as we saw with the most recent Tesla events, you see that technology will always be designed with the purpose of enhancing human life in meaningful and intuitive ways. So everything we do regarding technology, regarding design, regarding art, it is all focused into just making the human experience so much better. And lastly, cultural and emotional resonance. So future design will not only solve practical problems, but also enrich cultural and emotional experiences. Since the dawn of time, humanity has always connected art and technology with culture, with scenarios like the cavemen with their paintings, the Edo bronze, the Benin bronze sculptures. You always want to combine, there's always a piece of intersection between art, technology, and culture. And it will keep on going that way into the future without stopping. The power of design. Design acts as a harmonizer, like I've spoken about today. It's basically blends art and technology together. It takes the concept of art and puts it into areas of technology. It's practical and enriching, and once again, this is a conclusion, it will play a very pivotal role in the future. It has played a very pivotal role in our past and to continue to play a bigger role into the future. So thank you very much. Do you have any questions for me?
All right, it's very nice. Thank you for actually keeping to time. Please, can you go back to your first slide, your very first slide, so we can capture that in our live stream, please? Yes, all right, thank you. So because of time, I don't think we would actually take questions today. So what will happen is that subsequently, if there are opportunities, I know there will be questions. I know I'll receive questions later, and then I'll ask the questions when we do not really have active facilitators. All right, please, is that okay with you?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you so much, everyone, for being available. All right, yeah, please. I want to find out, has any of us received a kind of an email notification for KD? Please, has anyone received that? Let me know if it's just me. Do you get like 10 minutes notification via email for KD?
No, I do not.
Oh, you didn't? All right, thank you. Okachi, how about you? You didn't, right? All right, no problem.
No, ma.
Okay, no problem. Thank you everyone for joining. Do have a productive day.
Thank you very much, ma.